Hello and welcome to Meade Week. I'm Brian Spann. This week, full coverage of the Memorial Day Remembrance and Massing of the Colors, joint service installation run coming up, as well as the annual Asian Pacific Heritage Month observance. We'll have details on those events in a moment. But first, last week we reported that although the Asymmetric Warfare Group is small in numbers, their impact is felt Army-wide. For the last 2 weeks, they've been examining alternative mobility options. This week, we focus on the motorcycle. As we reported before, the AWG basically exists to assist and advise combatant commanders on how to do their jobs more effectively and safely. To that end, they compile a lot of research, and for the last 2 weeks they've been taking a look at motorcycles. For soldiers, the advantages of a bike on a battlefield are pretty plain.
There's a certain point at which you can't carry a 130-pound rucksack up a mountain anymore. There's a certain distance that you can't go. There's a certain amount of water that you can't carry. And what these bikes provide, or ATVs, whatever the case may be, it provides an extension of that physical range. Instead of being able to walk 6 or 7 clicks, maybe now we can drive 15 clicks. And instead of being inserted by MATVs or a chopper or MRAPs, we get inserted by a very small signature. The locals know when an MATV comes through the town, and the locals may not give this a second thought.
An obvious question remains, what about experience? Riding over a battlefield isn't the same as cruising down Main Street.
Actually, in this class, there are staff sergeants and E7s that had never, at the beginning of the training, prior to this training, at the beginning of the riders training, they said they never even sat on a motorcycle. And by day 5 of the first week, they were doing courses that were ridden by professional enduro racers. Single track, going up mountains, going over boulders and logs. 5 days ago, they'd never sat on a motorcycle.
Ultimately, the AWG's goal during these exercises is to evaluate different types of mobility options, but for these soldiers, the motorcycle seemed very popular.
You can obviously see from this field how breaking contact on foot and breaking contact on a motorcycle, you're going to be able to get out of there a lot faster on a bike or a quad as opposed to running.
Last weekend, Fort Meade welcomed Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley as the guest speaker at the 26th Annual Massing of the Colors. The Massing of the Colors is presented by the Military Order of the World Wars.
For those of you who are not familiar with the order, it was formed in 1919 by the officers who served under General of the Armies John J. Blackjack Pershing. They did it to perpetuate those ideals for which they fought the Great War, a war to end all wars. The ideals that formed the military order in 1919 still remain today as a very important part of our organization.
The sight of all these colors is amazing. And when you reflect on the fact that each of their organizations marched under their own colors with the sole purpose of rallying around the national flag, you understand what our first Commander-in-Chief, President George Washington, meant when he said, when you become the soldier, don't forget the citizen. These colors guards represent the most patriotic and noble military and civilian organizations in our region, and the individual members represent the best the great state of Maryland has to offer. That's why it's appropriate that our guest speaker today is the Honorable Governor Martin O'Malley.
Our country is only as strong as the men and women who are willing to step up in the present to defend her future, and when necessary, to fight for her future. We are proud of your commitment. We are proud of your courage and your willingness to serve your country in time of need. Also, I want to salute the families who are here today, families of our veterans, families of our active service members, who I know give up a tremendous amount and sacrifice greatly. Your love, your support, and your understanding allows our men and women in uniform to answer the call to serve, and in a very real way, your sacrifice also defends our country's greatness. We also pay respect to those men and women in uniform who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Their courage and their service can never ever be repaid, but we should and must pause from time to time to say thank you publicly and thank you in our hearts for what they have done for all of us.
This year's event, bigger than ever, brought together more than 300 color guards along with the U.S. Army Field Band and Chorus and the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. That's Meade Week for this week. I'm Brian Spann. For everyone at Meade TV and the Fort Meade Public Affairs Office, have a great weekend and a great Meade Week.